With so much content and focus on getting into college and earning your degree, it's worth taking a step back and asking, should you earn a college degree at all? And it's a serious question worth considering, even if you eventually dismiss the option, enroll at a university, and earn your bachelor's degree. This video isn't of this influencer bro type of video where they're telling you that college is a scam and that only suckers work 9 to 5s and that you should just drop out and trade Forex or Gamestop meme stocks. It's not this kind of video, but because the unfortunate reality is that a college degree and even debt are a necessary evil for most students to survive in our late-stage capitalism world. Harvard Business School professor Arthur Brooks discusses his child who opted out of college in a July 2020 article in The Atlantic called "A College Degree is No Guarantee of a Good Life." Brooks proposes a typical scenario where students may be academically excellent, yet not feel compelled to pursue a traditional 4-year degree. He shares about the personal conflicts of being a college professor and raising an older child who is valedictorian while having a younger child with different goals and interests. An unquestioned assumption of a college education is that it provides a good, if not the best return on your investment relative to the alternatives. Arthur Brooks himself forewent immediate college enrollment, much to his parents' outrage, to tour the country in a classical band. Similarly, his wife Esther dropped out of high school to sing in a rock band. Safety-conscious parents often forget what it's like to be a teenager. However, a new generation of younger parents may have themselves been raised by the first wave of helicopter parents in the 1980s, so they may not genuinely know any different. Brooks' son resolved not to attend college and instead pursue his passion of organic farming before consequently enlisting in the Marines. And his parents agreed with this decision so as not to be hypocrites and also because they trusted his judgment. Unlike in Europe or Australia, where students regularly take time off between college and high school, Americans fixate on immediate college enrollment. Brooks writes, "Some kids think they know what they want to do after college, but others don't. So for them, college is like buying an expensive insurance policy." He references research that correlates college degrees only mildly with happiness. Other studies call into question whether a college application causes happiness or if it's the result of other variables such as religious affiliation or income. Brooks writes, "Some researchers actually believe that education is negatively linked to happiness and hypothesize that some college attendees trade ambition for life satisfaction. The evidence on the economic and happiness benefits of college is mixed." Like Brooks, I also believe in the power of higher education to change lives and create opportunity. It transformed my life as a first-generation college student and the lives of countless others. But is it the right fit for everyone? I'm skeptical. However, there are few viable alternatives to earning a living wage without having a college degree. Graduates like me during the Great Recession and college students who are finishing degrees during the COVID-19 pandemic struggle mightily to find gainful employment in their fields that pay living wages. Brooks writes, "Past performance is no guarantee of future returns. Many analysts see wage growth stagnating for college graduates, with average starting salaries increasing only 1.4% from 2015 to 2018, a period when the economy was roaring. Earnings among recent graduates have stagnated in the past decade, while wealth among the baby boomer generation has increased steadily. However, times have changed since Arthur Brooks and his wife came of age. They grew up in an era with a robust middle class, where people could access jobs that paid living wages without requiring a college degree. Healthcare, housing, childcare, and education were substantially less expensive in the 1970s and 80s relative to today. For example, my dad could make a living driving bread trucks for 40 years. My mom has worked in elementary education retail, neither of which required any college studies. But those days are mostly over. The economy has shifted in remarkable ways even since the Great Recession a decade ago. Overwhelmingly today, a bachelor's degree of any kind is required to get most types of jobs that pay living wages, let alone career advancement, or they're prerequisites to continued graduate studies. A bachelor's degree has become the new high school degree despite only 1 in 3 American adults holding a bachelor's. Increasingly, masters or PhDs are becoming the new norm in corporate hiring practices, especially at prestigious firms. Like I mentioned in the introduction, you can find these Pollyannish YouTube videos from stock advisors or entrepreneurs who rail against a traditional college education and the 9-to-5 scam. They attempt to persuade high school students not to attend. And I'm even sympathetic and agree with a lot of the contrary perspectives that they say. But speaking from personal experience, opting out of conventional society is so much easier with a college degree. If my unconventional lifestyle traveling the world and starting my business tech submissions failed, I could more easily get a job in the United States than if I only had a high school degree. And my backup could have been graduate school. I'd even taken the GRE before I left the United States. So that means for most high school students, most of the time, a bachelor's degree is a necessary and unavoidable evil. Daniel Markovits, in his book The Myth of Meritocracy, estimates that the bachelor's degree premium on lifetime earnings was double that of the 1980s. I also used to subscribe to Frank Bruni's insistence that which college you attend does not define who you will be. I even mailed his book to a few of my clients. But his data and anecdotes from before 2010 honestly seemed outdated. Where you go does seem to influence your future opportunities. Our economy is increasingly bifurcating between the kinds of office jobs that allow for remote work during a pandemic and lower paid yet essential jobs that must be done in person. Daniel Markovits calls this division glossy versus gloomy jobs. It's less likely today than a decade ago that jobs requiring a bachelor's degrees work alongside those who do not. People with college degrees even marry each other in record numbers, a departure from trends half a century ago when there wasn't much of a correlation between the education level of partners. Failure to earn a college degree is an almost guaranteed consignment to a tenuous existence. Traditionally middle-skilled white-collar jobs, such as secretaries and paralegal, are becoming automated or obsolete. Plumbers, electricians, and others who work in trades aren't compensated at rates that keep pace with living costs, especially when people are starting their careers. These tradesmen and people also have less professional freedom than generations past due to a few large firms who are crowding out many smaller ones, family companies, and also freelancers, which is a tendency towards monopoly experienced in almost every industry in the United States. Receiving a degree from a regional or a lesser-known university lowers one's ceiling for future career prospects. Some prominent investment banks and consulting firms told a transfer client of mine who was attending a public flagship university in the SEC conference, they point-blank told this student that they will never get a job based on the name of their future diploma. Credential discrimination is the antithesis of a meritocracy that is supposed to reward people who can somehow pull themselves up from their bootstraps. Human resource systems that filter not just by whether one has a degree or not, but also the institution attended, exacerbates the admissions madness. Whereas corporate executives in the middle of the 20th century were more likely to have only a high school degree compared with a college education, more than half of our current financial, political, and corporate leaders hold degrees from just 12 of the country's most elite universities. The survivorship bias entails that we only hear about the handful of successful people without college degrees and not the thousands of others of dropouts or those who didn't get degrees at all and subsequently failed. For example, even famous technology executives like Michael Dell, Bill Gates, and Mark Zuckerberg attended college for at least some time rather than foregoing it entirely. Famously, Mark Zuckerberg met some of his early business partners in his Harvard classes and residence halls, and being at Harvard planted the seed to connect people together in a social network. Moreover, college degrees often fail to reflect the skills that they supposedly transfer. Competency-based certificates could be an alternative. One impressive institution and a first mover in the online education space is the nonprofit, private, and regionally accredited Western Governors University, or WGU. WGU's self-paced curricula allows students to earn credit for skills they already have, while developing new ones at an affordable cost. That limits repeating classes that a traditional degree often requires. WGU is great at accommodating transfers of credit from most traditional brick-and-mortar universities. It may not provide the college experience, but what does that even mean anymore in our pandemic era? Transitioning away from degree credentials and toward a system that favors demonstrated skills and competencies, for example programming or web design, would provide stronger signals to prospective employers about what their future employees could bring to the table. A distributed certificate system would help non-traditional students, military veterans, and mid-career professionals who need additional training but are not well served by traditional four-year degrees. Unlike their elite university counterparts, which almost entirely exclude non-traditional transfer applicants in particular, WGU enrolls nearly 140,000 undergraduate and graduate students, whose average age is 36, and 2/3 of which are female. Around 12% of their student body is African American, compared with 13% of the overall population. WGU for the past 2 decades has been quietly democratizing education and providing the skills that multinational corporations, schools, and government agencies seek. They promote genuine inclusion and access without a brick-and-mortar campus, all with an annual budget of only $800 million. NYU Stern Business School professor and education critic Scott Galloway considers what role the COVID-19 pandemic will have on higher education in his recent book, Post-Corona: From Crisis to Opportunity. He observes that education is an industry that's changed a little over the decades, and it's ripe for disruption. He suggests that the early promises of MOOCs, open courseware that's offered by MIT and Harvard, or celebrity teachers on platforms like Masterclass honestly are unlikely to displace elite brick-and-mortar institutions. He agrees that elite universities are here to stay. Middling private universities and underfunded state universities are indeed at a high risk of failure. And only time will tell how many of these financially suspect universities might go bankrupt in the next years for failing to enroll a sufficient number of students. One alternative that Galloway proposes is partnerships between universities and corporations. For example, MIT and Google could provide 2-year degrees online, available to many more students that offer the concrete skills that employers need. Since employing practices still overwhelmingly favor a bachelor's degree or higher, they could play a role in crafting curricula and course content. That would secure the benefits of a competencies-based institution like Western Governors University, while also providing the gravitas conferred by elite institutions and leading technology brands. Another possibility is that corporations like Apple or Amazon could even create their own quasi-universities that confer degrees or that have a cooperative vocational model that combines both work and study. As it stands, self-taught programmers often need the validation of a credentialed degree to gain employment. The traditional education system hasn't caught up to the demands of the 21st century knowledge economy. American universities have an almost total monopoly on one's future prospects, just like how prospective NFL players have no other choice but to play college football under the auspices of the NCAA. In contrast, at least Major League Baseball prospects have the option to play college baseball or join and receive a salary from the minor league farm systems in the United States or professional leagues in Mexico or Japan, for example, following high school graduation. Just because a bachelor's degree is unavoidable doesn't mean that you need to pursue it immediately after high school. So, in the next video, I will discuss gap years. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can find my email in the information section of this video, so feel free to reach out if you're interested in working together.